How's it going everyone, it is Pangino here, and in this video we're going to be showcasing the brand new RedMagic 6S Pro 165Hz gaming phone. And this video is kindly sponsored by RedMagic. In this video we're going to be covering the unboxing experience, initial impressions of the device, covering some of the many unique features this device holds, such as the gaming mode, the included fan cooling system, the 165Hz screen, and the gaming triggers. We're going to be covering native mobile Android games alongside some emulation tests, running some of my favorite GameCube and PSP games alongside its streaming capabilities using the PS5, Xbox Series S, Steam Link, and cloud streaming services to test the phone's capabilities and offer a more unique perspective for a potential buyer for a gaming phone. With more and more high-budget AAA mobile releases such as Call of Duty Mobile, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, PUBG, League of Legends Wild Rift, and the highly anticipated Battlefield Mobile release, gaming on mobile is becoming more and more popular. So if you're in the market for a brand new phone and outright speed of the operating system, applications, and overall usability, alongside its gaming performance are incredibly important to you, the RedMagic 6S Pro could be a fantastic option, especially with it starting at just £519. The device will come in a relatively standard phone box with this nice embossed carbon fiber design. Opening up the phone case will reveal the handset at the top, covered in its plastic protective wrapping. Moving this to the side, you'll be able to find the accessories pack underneath this. In the box, you'll be able to find the included 30-watt quick charge adapter, alongside a provided USB-C to USB-C cable, which is capable of transferring up to 66 watts, which the phone actually supports. Upon opening up the accessories pack, you'll be met with the included SIM tool, which is a more gamer-style SIM tool, which I actually prefer over the traditional style, as this feels a lot sturdier. You'll be able to find a quick start guide, your warranty card, alongside the provided clear silicone case, in which comes free with every single one of these handsets. Initial impressions, the handset felt absolutely fantastic. I was expecting the handset to feel slightly on the cheaper side given its gamer aesthetic, but the device feels nice and weighty and incredibly premium. There are no rough edges on the sides, everything feels completely flush, the buttons are fantastic, and overall I would say this is up there with the most premium smartphones in terms of feel and fitment. Taking a look at the top of the device, you'll be able to find the power button and one of two of the fan ventilation grills on the phone, as there is actually an internal fan on this phone in which you can turn on and off. Alongside the right side of the phone, you'll also be able to find both of the haptic feedback triggers which have been included, which are touch sensitive, which you can set up in any single game and rebind at your will. You'll notice that this phone actually does include a standard 3.5mm headphone jack, and here you can see the 3 camera setup on this phone. Main shooter being a Samsung 64MP sensor, an 8MP ultra wide, and a 2MP macro lens. You'll also be able to find the included flash underneath this, which is a rather unique design compared to some phones. Alongside this, you'll also be able to see one of the custom buttons on the back of the phone marked as touch, where you can swipe left and right on this section of the back of the phone whilst you're playing games. On the bottom of the phone, you'll be able to see the SIM tray, the USB-C connector, and also one of 2 of the main speakers on the phone. The left-hand side of the device features the red gaming switch, in which you can switch instantaneously at any point whilst using the phone, and this will instantly load you into the gaming OS, where you'll be able to boot your games. This will also be able to remove some background tasks and applications which are running to free up performance to help you get the most out of your gaming experience. You'll also be able to find the second fan vent on this side alongside the volume rocker. Upon booting the device for the first time, the setup is practically a standard Android setup, very quick and easy, and also supports the Google sign-in feature, where you can also transfer all of your old apps from an old device and any more data in which is currently connected to any Google account you may already have. And as mentioned earlier on, there is an under-screen fingerprint reader on this phone, which is one of the fastest I've ever used. Not only in terms of the screen quality, the colors, and the brightness, but the refresh rate is absolutely phenomenal, and this is by far the fastest device in which I've ever used, and everything you'd want from a phone tailored towards speed and performance. The phone also comes with a pre-installed screen protector, which in my opinion is an incredibly highly underrated feature to get from a new phone, as this will help prevent you from scratching or damaging the screen, especially when setting up the phone for the first time. We can install the phone into the provided silicone case very quickly and easily just by snapping it inside of it. In my opinion, the silicone case actually provides the phone with a bit more of a more comfortable feel, especially if you're going to be using this in longer gaming sessions and making use of the triggers. Once we've booted into the operating system, we're going to go to the quick access bar by dragging down at the top and selecting our screen refresh rate to maximize it to the 165Hz supported mode. Once that's been selected, this phone is incredibly fast, especially in the operating system and playing any games which support above 60 frames per second. Before getting my hands on this device, my main driver was a Samsung S20 Ultra, which was one of the first phones to feature a 120Hz screen, and this completely blows it out of the water. So about the operating system, this is currently running RedMagic OS version 4.10, which is a reskinned version of Android 11. So if you are are familiar with the Android operating system, you'll feel right at home here. So what about specs, pricing, and availability? The phone features the brand new industry-leading Snapdragon 888 Plus chip, which is one of the first handsets to hit the market with this available. For screen, we have a Full HD Plus AMOLED screen featuring a 165Hz refresh rate at 2400 by 1080 resolution, coming in at 6.8 inches, and one of the craziest specs on this phone is the 720Hz multi-finger touch sampling rate. Even the original RedMagic 6 and RedMagic 6 Pro featured a 500Hz touch rate, which means just for one finger, whereas this phone features 720Hz for multiple fingers at the same time. For cameras, we have an 8MP front-facing selfie camera, we have a Samsung 64MP main shooter, a 2MP macro lens, and an 8MP wide angle. This phone features Bluetooth 5.1, all of the major Wi-Fi bands, including Wi-Fi 6E, USB-C, you have a standardized 3.5mm headphone jack, NFC, and their brand new Gen 7 under-screen fingerprint sensor, which also features a heart rate monitor. You have DTS-X compatible dual speakers, comes in at a weight of 215 grams, which is lighter than the previous gen RedMagic 6 and RedMagic 6 Pro, upgraded cooling featuring a low power high speed fan, a 550mAh battery, support for 66W fast charging, and depending on the model in which you get, either 12GB of LPDDR5 and 120GB of storage, or 16GB of LPDDR5 and 256GB of storage. The dual shoulder triggers have also been upgraded slightly to feature 450Hz response rate, and you also have an extra macro key on the back of the phone on the included touch area. The phone also features full support for the Google Play Store, which is pre-installed to the device, where you're able to install all of your favorite apps and games, including Google Play verified apps such as Netflix, so there's no issues with running those here. For specs and price to performance, this is going to be one of the most compelling options on the market if you're a power user and want the fastest phone possible, not just for gaming, but all around usability. The phone officially launches on September 27th, where there'll be 3 different versions of the handset available. As shown in this video, the base model features 12GB of LPDDR5 memory, alongside 128GB of storage. This comes in at $599 or £519. Next tier up from that is going to feature 16GB of LPDDR5 memory alongside 256GB of storage, coming in at $699 or £609. And for the top tier device, this also features 16GB of LPDDR5 memory alongside 256GB of storage, but this version of the device is transparent where you can see some of the components inside, and it has a nice fancy design. This comes in at $729 or £629. With the base model coming in at just $599, you are getting some phenomenal specs for the money. My current phone is the Samsung S20 Ultra, which is the European version featuring the Exynos chip. This is a top of the range phone in which cost £1,100 brand new, which is just over double the cost of the RedMagic 6S Pro. And out of my own curiosity, I wanted to put these phones head to head in a few benchmark tests, running them multiple times to see how they are initially on performance and how they perform after a strenuous long stress test, which would simulate running a game for over 10 minutes in one standing. Well, jumping into the benchmarks, they practically speak for themselves. As you can see here, the RedMagic 6S Pro is beating the Samsung in every single benchmark we're throwing at it, and the more and more benchmarks we run back to back as the phones become hotter and hotter and hotter, this is where you can see the Snapdragon 888 Plus and the advanced cooling system on this phone really leaving the Samsung in the dust. One thing I was incredibly surprised with the 6S Pro was actually just how nice the screen is. In terms of overall brightness and color accuracy, I actually preferred it over the Samsung's, and not to mention the 165Hz refresh rate made it feel incredibly snappy. The only main differences between these phones priced so differently from each other is there is an ever so slightly better camera on the S20 Ultra, slightly tougher glass, and a higher water resistant rating, and it loses out in every single department besides this. So you're probably wondering at this point, what is this thing like to game on? What's the performance like? Now with this RedMagic 6S Pro, to get the most out of your games, you're going to want to use the game mode switch on the left hand side of the phone, which you can see here is this red switch. Flicking this switch will instantly bring you into the RedMagic Gaming OS or GameSense mode. In here you'll be able to find all of your games in which you have installed to the phone, or any programs in which you want to add to the GameSense launcher, where they'll then feature 100% priority over all other apps on the system, allowing for the best performance possible when that app is launched. Upon booting any of your favorite games, on the top left and top right of the screen you'll be able to notice these small transparent notches. Drag one of these to the side and this will open up the game space whilst you're in game. Here's where you have some power plant options available to you, which will change the clock speed of the CPU, GPU, and the speed of the cooling fan on the phone to maximize performance or stretch out some battery life. Past the power plan, you'll have some quick access options to some applications installed to the phone, in which you can sideload or overlay on the screen whilst you're playing your game in the background. And you'll have quick access options to your brightness, your screen's refresh rate, where you can go from 60, 90, 120, and 165Hz on the fly. You'll also have the on and off feature for the turbo fan, in case you want to turn this on or off. You have a manual recording button, so you can record whatever's on the screen at any time just by simply pressing this button. You'll also have an FPS counter in which you can just simply press, then drag this to anywhere on the screen at any time. You're able to block messages, add controllers, screenshot, block calls, and add custom features alongside being able to see the phone's battery percentage and the network usage. On the left hand side, you can bring yourself quickly back into the home screen of your phone. You can also access the settings and the shoulder trigger setup. This is where we can set up those haptic feedback triggers on the top left, top right, and also the macro at the back of the phone for swiping. To set up the triggers, go to the top left hand side to touch button, make sure this is switched to the on position. You'll then be able to see the left and right buttons on the left and right of the screen. What you'll then simply want to do is drag the left button over the button you want this to press on your screen. So if you want this to be aiming in the game, drag the left side onto that button on screen, drag the right trigger onto whatever option you want, so whether that be shooting or aim down sight or whatever it is you want in your game. Then finally select the M button to be able to set up the M macro, where you can then drag this to anywhere on the screen as well to also activate that option. Once those options have then been activated, pressing the triggers will then press the buttons in which they've been hovered over on screen. You can turn on or off the haptic feedback in the top right hand side and adjust the touch sensitivity of the triggers. Once those are then set up, dragging your finger across the back of the phone on that M touch section will then press the M button, left trigger will press the left button, right trigger will press the right button, offering a clear advantage to anyone that doesn't have these features available to them. Heading over to the plugins section, this is where we can actually set up a few fancy features. The main feature we're going to be focusing on is the sight assist. Turning this to the startup option will enable a on-screen crosshair in which you can set up and configure to any size. This is fantastic for some of those games that might have a bad crosshair, so for an extra advantage, you can use that setting on any game. With the Snapdragon 888 Plus and the cooling system on this phone, it's absolutely blasting through any of the games in which I've tried on it. Call of Duty Mobile feels incredibly fast, snappy, and responsive. League of Legends Wild Rift, which is currently one of my favorite mobile games, actually supports a 90 FPS feature within inside of the game in which you can set, and the phone stays capped at 90 FPS at all times. Fortnite and Genshin Impact run absolutely fantastically as well, alongside PUBG Mobile, offering a fantastic gaming experience. With the DTS-X supported dual speakers, sound on the phone is absolutely fantastic, especially when gaming. You can check out an example of this here. As mentioned earlier on in this video, this phone is also incredibly powerful for emulation. I personally used both the PSP and the Dolphin emulators, which can emulate GameCube and Wii games, and for the majority of games in which I've thrown at this phone for both the PSP and GameCube, they have run absolutely fantastically. Not only that, but with the phone being as powerful as it is, especially on the PSP, we're able to run up to 10 times the original PSP's resolution on the phone natively, hitting either 30 or 60 FPS, depending on which game you're playing and what the FPS is capped to at all times. But the main star of the show here is the Dolphin emulator. This phone is able to play tons of the original GameCube and Wii games, upscaled to a beautiful 720p or in some use case scenarios 1080p or above. This means games such as the original release of 13, 007 Nightfire, Super Mario Sunshine, and tons more are available right here on the phone. If Android games aren't your gig, emulation doesn't interest you, also have options such as Steam Link, AMD Link, GeForce Now, Stadia, Xbox Remote Play, and also PlayStation Remote Play, which work all fantastically on this, especially given this device supports Wi-Fi 6 and I have a Wi-Fi 6 router in my house. So if I want to stream any games from my high-end gaming PC, my PlayStation 5, or my Xbox Series S across my network to my phone anywhere in the house, even if I fancy just a change of pace to be able to sit on the couch with a phone and a controller, or if someone else is using the TV and I still want to play PlayStation, this phone is a great option. Closing opinions of the REDMAGIC 6S Pro, I think it's an incredibly fantastic device, especially given at its price point. The base model which I have, which features the 12GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, is more than enough for me, and it's way more powerful than any phone in which I've used, and that's coming from a Samsung S20 Ultra, which was worth over £1,000 just over a year ago. The device feels surprisingly premium with high quality materials used throughout, and one of the most beautiful displays in which I've seen on any smartphone. The 165Hz refresh rate is incredibly fast and snappy. The overall specs of this phone blow almost anything out of the water. The low compromises being that there is not a water resistancy rating on this phone. Obviously, with the cooling fan vents on the side of the phone, this isn't waterproof. Alongside only using 2.5D cornering Gorilla Glass on the front screen, the smash resistancy of this phone isn't going to be great. If those very few compromises do not bother you, with the outright specs of the phone and how competitive the pricing is, I would recommend considering this phone for your next upgrade. If you're looking for more information on the phone or would like to buy one, make sure to use the sponsored link provided in the description down below, where you'll be able to find more information on where to buy the phone and read up full detailed listings of all of the features, specs, and everything shown in this video, where you'll be able to join the pre-order list for exclusive pre-launch discounts provided by RedMagic. A massive thanks to RedMagic once again for sponsoring today's video. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please do remember to leave a like as it does help me out tremendously. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Panjano, and I'll see you in the next one.